HADO is, the best way to describe it is if you are familiar with dodgeball, as in the game where you throw balls at another team and try to knock them out. It's similar to that, but it is a combination of bodies wearing what are called head-mounted displays that look like this, and you see fireballs that you can launch from your hands and shoot at the other players, and you can aim and make gestures with your hands. It is a team sport, 3 versus 3 in a small court with a red side and a blue side, and over a period of 80 seconds, you can either shoot fireballs or launch a shield to protect you. And at the end of 80 seconds, the team that has the most points wins. It's kind of that simple. We had to think of a cool name for it, and something that would relate to taking a fireball and shooting out of your hand. And if you ever played fighting video games like Street Fighter, you'll know that a popular move that a lot of the characters do, like Ryu or Ken, when they make that move to shoot the fireball, they'll say in Japanese, Hadouken, which Hadouken, which basically means wave motion fist in Japanese. But we took the Hadouken and we clipped it and shortened it to just Hado. So it was actually the founder had the idea originally, and his name is Hiroshi Fukuda. And as a kid, he watched a lot of anime, that's what we do, and read a lot of manga and all that. And people are probably familiar with it's quite famous internationally, Dragon Ball series. And there is a very famous character, he's all in orange, and his name is Goku. And he shoots that fireball, Hamekameha is what it was called in the thing. And he, as a child, dreamed of being able to have that superpower, because everybody dreams of having superpowers when they're a kid and all that. And when he collaborated with a lot of engineers and discovered augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and all these new technologies, it's like, hey, you know what? When I was a kid, I always wanted to be able to be like a Goku and shoot the fireball from the hand. Can you make that happen? And we were like, oh, let's give it a shot. And so we did. And from that experimentation, we were able to take that and then take it and turn it into a game that you could actually enjoy. So we have, in HADO, we basically, because we're small, we broadcast tournaments over the internet, for example, YouTube and whatnot. And we have tournaments with qualifying rounds, a lot like a soccer World Cup and all that. We're from various countries. People qualify in their own country, and there is a spring cup, a summer cup, and then the final, what we call the World Cup in December. And there are pro teams in every country, and they go through the qualifying rounds. Each country sends their best team to Japan to compete in December. And the winning pro team, and a pro team is anywhere from 3 to 5 people, will win approximate equivalent around 20,000 pounds, which is not bad. Some people might have experienced there's basically 3 letters you need to know, VR, AR, and MR. VR you probably are familiar with, which is like virtual reality. That's where you take a headset that looks like this. This is an HTC Vive Pro. You put it on your head, and you see it's not transparent, and it takes over your whole world. So the world you see is not actually the world you're in. Now other people are probably familiar with a popular mobile game called a Pokemon Go, and that's called AR, which stands for augmented reality, where it uses a camera on your phone, and it basically, you look at whatever you see in real life. Let's say you're in a park, but you look through it, and then you can actually see the Pokemon actually playing in the park, bouncing around, and then you try to catch it. That's AR. And MR, which is mixed reality, is basically it's a combination of both. You're wearing a headset, but on the headset you have the reality you see is being augmented. And like this is a Microsoft HoloLens, a prototype development. And I don't know if you can see the camera, but you can see through these. It's kind of like glasses, but if you're looking through them, what you see is augmented. So the players in a tournament, they wear a special device, which we designed, which is really, really lightweight. They put it over their head, and they can still see the court and arena just like you would with your real eyes. However, what people with normal eyes can't do is they can see the shields that they raise by raising their hand with their gesture, and they can see the fireballs that they're shooting and are being shot at them. And so imagine dodgeball, but instead of real balls, you see, fireballs come at you, and the fireballs, look and act like the real thing. You can get hit and whatnot. So yeah, unfortunately, you need a proper arena. And that is something, in other words, unfortunately, you can't play it at home. And the reason is for that is because the arena looks like has graffiti on the walls, like somebody spray painted one wall with all this graffiti that's mostly red and another one blue. But that graffiti is not actually really graffiti. It has a special meaning to the technology. It's what's called an AR marker. And what an AR marker does is a lot of times, like if you ever play like an AR game with your phone and all that, and you've taken your phone and moved it around, and if you jerk it really, really hard, it will lose alignment. It'll get confused and it'll forget where it is. So unfortunately, the answer to that is the thing you have to have is an arena to play in. And if you go to an arena where they have a HADO setup, they provide everything for you, the headsets, the equipment for your arms and all that. But really, other than that, the only thing you need is, shoes that you can maneuver in, because you have to move really fast. You have to be able to move laterally and backwards and forwards to avoid being hit. And you also need, just like any sports person, loose-fitting, comfortable clothes that you don't mind sweating in, because you will get a workout. When we were first making the game, our first instinct was, well, let's buy and use the most advanced and best technology we can buy. Like this HoloLens here, this is great stuff. However, this is not really designed for athletics, and they're very, very expensive and are hard to get. I think they cost around $3,000 US or whatnot. So we had to say, okay, what we really need to do is make our own tech that it might not be the state of the art, but where it compromises on that, it benefits by, we make it very lightweight, we make it hygienic, so it's okay if you sweated it, and we make it very airy so it breathes so you don't get hot, and we try to keep the cost down, so even though they're durable, when they do, and sometimes they do get smashed, it's not that big a deal. So that was our biggest challenge, was basically making the technology from scratch, because nobody really makes VR or AR head-mounted displays, HMDs, that are designed for hardcore athletic competition. There is a team that is based in Brighton, but there is an arena that is based in Birmingham. There is, I think, one HADO arena in the UK. I wish there were more, and there might be some more this year. But for the meantime, in the UK, it's in Birmingham, and I think it's called Grange Gaming. And you can probably look it up on YouTube or Google or whatever and all that. And they operate this arena, and anybody can go there to play. And because they want to get people interested in it, sometimes they'll have tutorials or training sessions, or they'll even have free trials every once in a while if you look them up on YouTube or whatnot. And they also help participate in finding the qualifying teams, which they eventually send to Japan, to Tokyo, to play in the World Cup. Yes, and here's why. Because esports is already getting there. For those, we call HADO techno-sports and not esports. For those that don't know, esports is basically playing video games, the same thing you would play on your PlayStation, Xbox, or computer, as a sport against other teams and other opponents, for prizes and medals and trophies and whatnot. And they did esports as a demonstration sport in the Asian Games last year in late summer. Demonstration sport in a big international competition means that you get medals for winning, but they don't count towards your total. So like if Japan got a gold medal in in an e-sport, in a demonstration sport, it's a gold medal, but it doesn't count towards your final tally and whatnot. Now, it will become a real sport in the Asian Games 4 years from now. And not in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, which is next year, but in the Paris Summer Olympics in 2024, they will introduce esports as a demonstration sport. Now, we don't like to call ourselves an esport because we're not just about having, a joystick in your hand and looking at a TV screen. You actually, like a real sport, you have to be in a pretty reasonable physical condition and be able to run around, or, if you're disabled or whatnot, be in a wheelchair. You still have to have the athleticism that comes with, as opposed to just being able to have hand-eye coordination. So I think that if esports can become a international competitive sport and even someday become an Olympics, I don't see any reason why not a techno sport could also be a internationally recognized sport that you can medal in. Do I have to choose one? I mean, it's kind of like asking somebody, well, you have to choose between soccer, football or rugby, which one? And I'm like, well, why can't you like both? I like sports. I like running myself. I'm a marathon runner. But, I also enjoy playing video games, and I also enjoy, watching esports. And I also, of course, like playing techno sports. If you forced me to choose, oh, man, I would have to say, well, eventually all sports are augmented by technology in some way. For example, when I run in a road race, I'm not running barefoot. I'm wearing high-tech, shoes that have really nice soles that keep me from getting injured and all that. So I don't see why, and when people play sports, they're wearing very high-tech protective gear. Now, it's not electronic or whatnot, but eventually, I think sports will evolve to the place where all sports will be techno sports. In other words, the shoes that we wear now and the protective gear that we wear now when we play regular sports, like be it cricket or even running, because shoes are technology, it'll be electronic in some way. And like I even saw the other day, Nike just put out a basketball shoe, which, believe it or not, has Bluetooth in it.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was blew my mind, and I had to think about, or where would you need that? And it was talking about how it can keep the tightness of the shoe adjusted just right and tune it to your foot preference. Well, let's see. My favorite part is, I'll give you the high level answer. Very few peak companies in the world are doing AR, VR, MR right now. It's rapidly increasing as it's getting to be a hot technology. So the technology is constantly changing. What was the best state of the art last year is obsolete by 2019. And that's not just hardware, but it's software. So I get to work with something that nobody else has ever worked with before. So it's brand new, and you're creating something new because there's not a whole lot of people doing it, so nobody's ever done it before. And the technology is moving so fast that it never gets boring. Something will come out this year, like, the HoloLens 2, and I was like, wow, it's amazing when you compare it to last year's model, how much smaller and lightweight and how many more things it can do that the previous thing can't do. So everything is very, very new, and for me, that's the funnest part of the job. It's never boring.